So today, the sense of place resonates more powerfully than it ever has before in the restaurant industry. It defines a cooking style of a new vanguard of chefs who sometimes obsessively focus on locally grown products that define the terroir of the region where they live. But adhering to a philosophy shaped by the insistence that a menu be comprised of ingredients procured close to home does not negate a global perspective. More than ever before, chefs in restaurant kitchens around the world create menus comprised of regional ingredients whose preparations are informed by a sophisticated awareness of global techniques, trends, and perspectives. Chefs are more connected and tuned in than ever to the culinary histories, legacies, and philosophies of nations that at first might appear to have nothing in common with their own. Upon closer inspection, however, unfamiliar ingredients, techniques, and geographies give way to a mutual respect for place, shared cooking philosophies, and similar approaches to and love of ingredients diligently grown with integrity and respect. It has never been a more exciting time to be a chef in the global restaurant industry, where the connections kitchens have to each other trump the differences, and where more than ever before, an open mind and insatiable curiosity is rewarded by knowledge gained and enduring relationships forged between chefs from every corner of the world. In this context, capitals of flavor are emerging across the world where the long-standing traditions of cuisine, so important to chefs and consumers today, are celebrated and embraced. Cities like London, Barcelona, and New York are not new to this distinguished group, but others like Lima, Copenhagen, Mexico City, and Istanbul have only recently taken center stage. Why have they emerged as the hotspots of cuisine that they currently are? It's because each of these adheres to a roster of allegiances so important to chefs today. Each of these cities featured in our Connected City series at Worlds of Flavor this year has a long-standing tradition of commitment to these relationships that resonates with people from around the world. Today, we have chefs from Lima, Sydney, and Tokyo who demonstrate why their cities have emerged as world capitals of flavor. We want to welcome our first chef today, Virgilio Martinez. Is the chef and owner of Central Restaurante in Lima and also Lima in London. When he started cooking, Lima was not really on the gastronomic map like it is today. And therefore, he decided to leave his homeland to work in restaurant kitchens in capitals of flavor in other parts of the world. But homesickness eventually overcame him, and he returned to Lima, eager to apply all that he had learned, filtered through a foundation of Peruvian techniques and ingredients that have become so integral to his cooking style. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And well, actually, it's an honor for me to talk about my food, my culture, my territory. I think I believe it's a duty to talk about Peru, not about my restaurant this time, not about what we do. And I really want to do something really basic. You know, there is a lot going on about Peruvian cuisine worldwide. It's like some people keep telling that it's kind of the new trend, but I think this is not good for our food. This is not good for us as a Peruvians. So we should avoid to be in that area of the what's trendy, what's fashion. Because if we are at this time having this recognition, it's because we haven't been attached to trends. So I think we need to believe on why Peruvian food is getting this recognition and why are we happy with our food. Why is this huge social impact about gastronomy? Why we are getting our identity back. You know, 20 years ago, I had to leave Peru because we were full of crime, kidnappings everywhere, terrorism. It was not a nice place to live, and we all left. And in these last 10 years, I would say a little bit more, 15. There was something going on with gastronomy, with food, that was attracting us, each other. Like we were so separate, and now food is getting back all of us. So now we are so proud of our food, but as I'm saying, it could be dangerous, right? Because we don't want to be like one of these trends that last 5 years or even 3 years more. Actually, I want to live my whole life cooking, and the same for my family and the rest of Peruvians. So probably you haven't tried any Peruvian dish, so I'm gonna do something really basic. I've done leche de tigre. Do you know what's tiger's milk? It's the sauce we use to marinate the fish. Actually, when we eat ceviche, we add this acidity. We add a mix of yellow pepper, celery, ginger, garlic, and we make an emulsion, and lots of key lime. So that's why when we add this liquid into any kind of protein, it attacks the protein and it cooks it, right? Partially cooked. So also we've been our inspiration is coming from our biodiversity. So we have a huge sea, very rich. We have our desertic coast. Then we have mountains. We go until probably 5,000 meters above sea level. Cities over there in the mountains, in the Andes. And then we go to the Amazonia. So this is all about the biodiversity of Peru, which is very important, because nowadays we really start to recognize our territory as a place with lots of surprises, with lots of wild ingredients, wild different cultures, well, so diverse that for me it's just amazing. I'm so grateful to be living in Peru, to come back to be back on Lima. And yeah, and of course I have to come here to explain what's going on with Peru, to make the people aware that there's something really good and full of passion happening in Peru. Then I will say that there is another thing about Peruvian gastronomy which impacts us a lot. We have the Inca's legacy. You know, Peru was in the middle of the empire Tahuantinsuyo before the Spanish came. And after that, we had the conquer. And after that, we have people from lots of Spanish came in, Italians, Japanese, Chinese. And they all concentrate in just in a small area in Lima. So that's why we had this natural fusion. I know this word is not very welcome, but it was a fusion. And you can see it on the ceviche, you can see it any dish, you can see an inspiration or anything coming from another country. So I will do my tiradito. Tiradito is like it's something really that came from the Japanese when they arrived to Lima. It's a slice of fish, could be like sashimi, between sashimi and carpaccio. Just to give an example, it's not probably the right way to say it. But yeah, we have the sliced scallops. What I did is I compressed avocado with chia seeds. So you know, chia seeds, they have lots of gelatin. So what we do is like we really try to avoid to use any thickener or anything that really we don't know where it's coming from. That's part of our Peruvian pride of using natural ingredients, and of course getting to know the place where the ingredient is coming from. That means that we have to leave our kitchens once in a while to go to the wildness to get ingredients and to register them, because some of them are new. And yeah, I'm gonna continue adding the sliced scallops. and as I was saying about the diversity of Peru, biodiversity, about Andes, Amazonia, coast, sea. So this dish is going to reflect the sea, the coast, and the Andes. Actually, we have the flavor of the sea with scallops, oysters, and then we have the taste of our coast. We have lots of avocados everywhere in my area, in Lima. And then, just to marinate the whole thing, some tiger's milk. Just a little bit, because actually we really want to recognize the seafood we are adding. And then I will introduce you to the world of quinoas, which I'm really proud of. You know, Peru has this variety of potatoes. It's been said that we have like 3,000 variety. I've seen only 300 in my life, which is a lot. Yeah, but yeah, we are not only a potato country, right? We have quinoas, we have amazing quinoas, amazing variety of corns, and vegetables like well. So I'm gonna add this red. This is called kiwicha. It's another variety of quinoa. Then I'm going to add the black quinoa. And then I'm going to add cañigua, which is the smallest quinoa you can see. You can have a look. So, and after that, well, actually, it would be nice to put some amaranth, some quinoa sprouts just on top. So that's the way we represent our sea, our coast, and our mountains, our Andes. That's the way we really want you to taste Peru. Thank you. There's one more thing. So I was missing the Amazonia. So I brought a wild chili pepper from the Amazonia. It is really, really spicy. So I need to boil this about 10 times. Remove the seeds. So after peeling this, my hand is going to be very, very hot. So must be. So in my restaurant, I have a lot of plants of quinoas and kiwichas and quinoa and cañigua and all this type of quinoas. So I brought a bush, no? What is?
Sprig. A sprig.
Yeah. And then I have my emulsion of the wild Amazonian chili pepper. It's just, as I told you, we boil this 10 times, and then we get this. It's not very spicy. That's why we just add a little bit. And then, since I love these quinoas, during this time, during this period, we have our plant with the quinoa leaves. So this is going to be the garnish of the dish. So it's just a bunch of quinoa and Andean and Amazonian flavors with the heat of the Amazonia, which is really, really important for us. So this is going to be as a garnish for this starter. Thank you so much.
Do you feel like there are any misconceptions right now that are happening with Peruvian cuisine? as people
Yeah.
are talking about it more and more. And
Yeah, actually, yeah, because we are in a very dangerous situation right now because there is a lot of people talking about Peruvian cuisine, and probably we're not ready for this. So there is a lot of pressure for Peruvian, all people related to gastronomy in Peru is very stressed right now because we're getting attention like never before.
overwhelmed.
Yes,
in a sense, yeah.
and it's, as I say, it's dangerous, but I mean, we cannot complain about this. It's just amazing, right? So, okay, so we are very happy, but yeah, we need to communicate what's going on in Peru, and to us it's still difficult because it's a very complex country. We don't know, we don't get to know our terroir very well. I mean, like. It's difficult to get deep into the Amazon. It's difficult to get deep into the Andes. Yeah, we've been through lots of problems, as I said, like economical, social, politics. So there's a lot of places that we don't know yet. So we have to work a lot on it. I think that's our task. And our duty nowadays could be for me, like, just to represent my country well and talk about what we do, and actually having you in my restaurant enjoying a Peruvian gastronomy, a Peruvian experience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, our next chef today is Chef Kunio Tokuoka. He is the chef and third-generation owner of Michelin three-star restaurant Kyoto Kicho that opened its doors in 1930. His classical Japanese cuisine is solely comprised of local and seasonal ingredients, and he is a pioneer in combining modernism with traditional Japanese kaiseki cuisine. His deep commitment to the traditions and ingredients of his country is an abiding reason why Tokyo has emerged again and again as a capital of flavor. Please join me. I think, do we have our chef? Yes. Please join in.
こんにちは、徳岡です。
Hello everyone, I'm Tokuoka.
僕は英語できないので、お手伝いしていただきます。よろしくお願いします。
So I obviously cannot speak English, so unfortunately I had to speak through an interpreter. That's me.
ですね、世界を回っていろんなところに行って何を感じてるかっていう話をしなさいということでここに立ってます。
So I guess I'm here today, and I think I want to share my inputs on how I see the world after traveling around the world. What do I think?
皆さんこの料理映ります？
So can you all see this, or do you see this on the screen?
これ何料理に見えます？
What does this appear to you? What kind of cuisine would you call this?
ジャパニーズに見えないですか？
Does it look Japanese?
今なんて言いますかね、こう何の料理、どこのカテゴリーに入っているのか料理が分かんなくなっているような気もします。
I think in a way that as this cuisine evolves, it's difficult to define which cuisine is from which country.
特に私たち日本料理はですね、もっと日本料理的であってもいいのかなと最近思ってます。
I personally think recently that Japanese cuisine can actually be more skewed towards traditional Japanese
それ
cuisine,
がこれなんですけれども、
which is this.
これお花とかですね、全部この辺この敷地内だったりとかカリフォルニアにあるものを使いました。
And all the things that are displayed here, like the flowers and the bamboo shoots, are actually from the campus
よ
or
く
California.
キャンバス見ると見慣れた花ばっかりだと思います。
Maybe some of you from CIA might be familiar with the flowers that are displayed here.
その証拠があるんですけれども、こ
I have
の
proof.
柿見てください。
Look at the persimmon.
サインがあります。
It's been autographed.
コルギーンのですね、ワインメーカーのコルギーンの CEO のポール・ロバーツのサインです。
It's autographed by Paul Roberts, CEO of Colgin, the winery.
彼がこの産地で物をもらいました。
So it's proof that this persimmon is from this area.
こうやって飾っておきましょうか。
So let's leave it like this.
ただ、その 分かりやすくするって言ってもですね、日本料理は日本料理なんですけれども、その中にやっぱりその各地に行った時のいろんなものをテイスト、要素、人と出会ったり知識であるとか、そういったものっていうのは吸収してそれを形にしなくてはいけないとも思っています。
So I said that Japanese cuisine, in a way, needs to skew more towards traditional Japan. However, it is true that I myself am inspired when I visit certain areas through people that I meet or knowledges that I acquire.
特に日本料理はすごく世界中に今すごく普及し始めてる、普及してますし、もしくは、クオリティがすごく上がってきているんですけれども。
Especially in an era where Japanese cuisine is spreading globally, and also the quality is improving as well.
でも日本国内には日本国内にはできて、でも世界にはできないことがあります。
But there are actually certain things that can be done only within Japan, so that can be done domestically, which cannot be done outside of Japan.
それは白身魚の鮮度の高いお作りですね。
Which is a very fresh sashimi or otsukuri, that's as you all know, of white fish.
皆さんも日本に行かれて、白身の魚、生を食べられたことある人います？
How many of you in here have eaten white fish sashimi in Japan? Can you raise your hands?
Good. 違いますよね。
It's different, right?
違いますよね。
Right?
なぜできないかっていうと、その板前の料理の技術ではなくて、漁師さんだったり、その取ることだったり、その取った後の管理、流通、もしくは消費者の意識っていうのが違うから、そういう日本ではそういうことが可能になっていると思ってます。
So, why this can be eaten or seen only in Japan, not outside of Japan, is not because of the technique of the chefs, but it's because of the fishermen or the highly advanced distribution system or how it is controlled.
将来的にはですね、私がですね、たくさんの漁師さんをこちらに連れてきて、ぜひ皆さんにもですね、その白身のいい、白身の魚を食べていただきたいと思っています。
And in the future, near future, I hope I can bring some of the Japanese fishermen here to the United States and have these very fresh white fish sashimi provided in the U.S. as well.
ただやっぱり規制とかいろんなものがあってなかなかできないですね。
However, it's not easy. There's a lot of restrictions.
で、僕は考えました。
So I have an idea.
まあ大体ですね、生の白身の魚を食べるときはカルパッチョみたいになっちゃうんですね。オリーブオイルをかけて。
Normally, when you want to eat fresh white fish, you would eat it carpaccio style, drizzled with olive oil.
そうじゃないですか？
Do you agree?
大体そうでしょうね。なんかカルパッチョみたいな感じになってやってるんですけど、じゃあその白身魚のところにですね、やっぱりあれするとですね、イタリアになっちゃうんですよね。
And carpaccio is good, but if you drizzle with olive oil and eat it as carpaccio style, it's not Japanese, it's kind of more Italian.
だからそのオリーブオイルをもっと日本的にならないかと。
So I wondered, can we create olive oil that is more Japanese-like?
で、僕はイタリアに行ってですね、イタリアのオリーブメーカーさんに相談しました。
So that's why I went on a plane to Italy and I started talking with the manufacturer in Italy.
アルデイーノっていうブランドわかります？
Do you know this brand or manufacturer called Aldeino?
知らない？
Yes?
知ってる？
Some heads nodding. Aldeino? No?
結構有名なんですけど。
It's quite popular, I think.
だからそこのところに言ったらですね、協力したいと。
So I went up to them and they were very, very interested.
どういうものがいいのかっていうことをリサーチされました。
And we kind of researched what would be the ideal Japanese olive oil.
僕はエレガントなものが作りたいと。
And then I said, I want to create an elegant olive oil.
で、そのオリーブをですね、まず一番、オリーブってすごくたくさんありますね、種類が。
So to start off with, there's so many varieties of olives.
だからその中で一番エレガントのを選ぼうと。
So I had to choose the most elegant type of olive.
それはタジャスカっていう品種のものです。
Which is called, or which happened to be called Tajiaska olives.
でそのタガスカを使ってオリーブオイルを作るんですけど、もっと繊細にできないかと。
So, but I wasn't satisfied there. I wanted to use Tajasca olives and make it more elegant.
いろいろこうなんていうんですかね、リサーチしていると種を抜いて絞る方法があると。
So I researched furthermore, and I found out that you can actually pit the olives and create olive oil from that.
普通は種ってやっぱり苦味であるとかえぐみとかたくさん含まれてますよね。
Because the seed or the pit, it includes a lot of bitterness or it's the acridity.
それを抜いてしまうことによってより繊細なものにならないかと。
And by removing that and pressing that, maybe you could create a more delicate type of olive oil.
普通はランク下のオリーブオイルを使ってその種を抜いたものを使って、そこそこの値段のオリーブオイルになるっていう使い方をするんですけど、私はその一番高級なオリーブを使ってその種を抜いて使うことを考えました。
So normally you wouldn't go through all that trouble. You would just choose the olives that you can put your hands on, and then you would go through the normal routine to create the normal olive oil. But what I wanted to do was choose the most premium type of olives, pit that, and then create an extremely fine and delicate flavored olive oil.
昔からあるところでその種を抜いてもですね、なんかそういう品が良くならないというか成分は同じだっていう科学者もいるんですけれども、オリーブの実の部分とですね、それは種の部分は全然違うものですよね。その科学者は多分ある特定の成分の数値だけを見て変わらないって言ってるんですけれども、実際の種とですね、その実の部分っていうのは明らかに違うものですので、絶対種を抜くことによってエレガントになると確信しています。
So a certain scientist claimed that actually removing the pits will not change the bitterness, or it wouldn't really make the flavor much more delicate. But my understanding is not that. It might, the element of bitterness, or element of, let's say, the element of the fruit of the olive and element of the pit might be equal, but not all. So the flavor is completely different, the pit and the fruit. So by removing it, you can create this olive oil.
実際このオリーブはですね、その白身魚にかけるだけで使うんではなくて、いろんな使い方が出ると思います。
So this olive oil, it can be enjoyed not just with whitefish, but also other uses as well.
最近、ニューヨークでもラーメンが流行ってますけど、ラーメン好きな方いらっしゃいます？
I think ramen noodles is quite popular in New York. How many of you like ramen noodles?
ラーメン？うわーすごいやっぱりたくさんいるね。
I see a lot of hands. That's good.
ラーメンはですね、結構太りますよ。気をつけてください。
You have to pay attention because a lot of ramen noodles, there's a lot of calories in that.
ラーメンの病みつきになるのはなぜかわかります？
Do you know why ramen noodles are so addictive?
うまみって最近うまみよく、耳にされると思いますけど、そのうまみとですね、油分がひっついた食べ物っていうのは病みつきになりやすいんです。
So I think we're well accustomed and familiar with umami. So when umami combines with fat, it becomes extremely addictive.
そこに塩が入るとそれが促進されます。
And then when you add salt to it or sodium, it
ポテトチ
accelerates.
ップはそうですね。
So potato chips, great example.
だからどんどん食べちゃいます。
You can't stop, literally.
どんどん太っちゃう。
And you can't stop, literally.
だからそれは良くないので、うまみも植物性のものから取った方がいいと思いますし、もしくは油もですね、植物性のものから取った方が太らないと思います。
So my idea is let's avoid that. So instead of using animal-based oil or animal-based umami, let's take it from vegetables.
美味しさっていうのはですね、人間が人類が生きていく上に必要な成分だったり量だと思います。
I think at the end of the day, what makes food very tasty and flavorful is all up to the type of elements and the volume elements.
もちろん本能的なものってそれはあるんですけれども、今は情報がたくさん出ているので、どんどん取りすぎてしまう傾向にある。
So we eat based on our natural instincts as well, but since there are abundant information everywhere now because of technology, I guess, we can't stop being inspired and intrigued.
あっちのレストランがいいとかこっちの食べ物がいいとかこっちも食べたいとかそういうことがあるのでどんどん太ってしまうので
So I want to go to that restaurant and I want to eat this dish while eating this dish, and I can't stop.
何を食べないのかもしっかり考えて、選んでほしいと思います。
So you need to think about not only what you eat, but what you don't want to eat.
その時に必要というベースになっているのは一次産業ですね。
And it's the prime industry that plays a critical role in this.
だから一次産業の方々がいるから僕たちが料理ができるし皆さんは生きていけることができるのでそのことをしっかり考えてほしい。
Thanks to the people working at the prime industry, we chefs have work to do, and consumers can access to great food.
だから人類が継続するためにこのから先継続するために自然と一次産業美味しさっていうのをキーワードにですねこれからもずっと僕も考えていきたいと思ってます。
So for humanity to survive, we need to think about how we could cherish and value the prime industry, the flavors, the taste of food, and also sustainability in terms of nature.
日本に来たらぜひ吉祥に来てください。
And long story short, when you come to Japan, please come to Kicho.
このオリーブオイルはインターネットで調べれば買えることができます。
This olive oil, good news, by the way, if you go on the web, you can buy this.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay, our third chef, Peter Gilmore, is one of Australia's most talented and influential chefs. Great. Okay, let me start again. So Peter Gilmore, he's one of Australia's most talented and influential chefs. Since 2001, he's held the position of executive chef at Key in Sydney, where he prides himself on the unique relationships he has forged over the years with small-scale producers, even having them develop vegetables, especially for the restaurant. Key has received countless accolades through the years, including being named one of San Pellegrino's 50 best restaurants in the world for 5 consecutive years. His first book, a really beautiful book, Key, Food Inspired by Nature, is a celebration of the nature-based philosophy that informs everything he does in the kitchen. Please join me in welcoming Peter Gilmore.
With a small video that we made last year, just to sort of give you a little bit more of an insight into the sort of philosophy that I use at Key. So if we can play that video first, and then we'll talk about the dish I'm going to present later. Thanks. What is the genesis of an idea? Could it be as simple as this seed in my hand?
It begins with a seed, planting a seed in the earth and watching the whole life cycle of that plant. You really never know what part of the plant you're going to end up using in a dish. Sometimes it can be the flower of the plant, the actual fruit of the plant, the seed pod, a very small leaf, or even the beginning, just the shoots of the plant. Being able to observe that and get some inspiration, sometimes that can just spark an idea for a dish.
And from there, it's really about taking an idea, taking that seed and exploring the possibilities.
My home garden is my inspiration. It's where I plant all sorts of herbs and different heirloom varieties of vegetables, things that are really hard to get hold of. It's really a place where I can meditate and think about ideas, get my hands dirty in the soil, and really just take in nature and its diversity. Some of the ingredients I have growing in my garden at the moment that are very interesting are things like the agretti, which is a herb from southern Italy. It has a very salty flavour. It's quite succulent as well. Then we have things like the silver sorrel, which is a beautiful herb. It's got this silver sheen over the leaf and has a beautiful lemon sorrel sort of flavour. And then I've got the Cavolo Nero. It's a different form of Cavolo Nero. It's a very curly leaf. And it has that beautiful sort of cabbagey mustard pungency about it. And then I've got things like the ice plant. And the ice plant is a real succulent, has little tiny ice crystals that form on the back of the leaf. A very interesting plant and very soft and succulent to eat as well. The plants from my garden have this really beautiful marine quality. To me, they feel like they need to be paired with seafood. The wild Pacific oysters from Tasmania. They're actually 8 to 9 years old and they're hand dive. They're amazing and they have this real intensity of flavour. So we're actually going to be curing those oysters in some salt and then making an oyster cream to give the dish some real depth. Other things we're using, leather jacket roe. So I'm making a little caviar from the leather jacket roe to go with the dish itself. The flathead is from Corners Inlet, which is down in Victoria. It's a very pristine place where they catch the flathead, and it's a rock flathead. So these actually eat crustaceans as part of their diet. So it has this richness with the flesh and a beautiful clarity of flavour. And with that, I thought of pairing it with abalone, which I think is going to be a very nice combination with all of the herbs from my garden.
Okay, that's it. So, as you can see by that film, I'm very inspired by nature and the garden. I discovered gardening myself probably about 9 years ago. For the first time I lived in a house that actually had a backyard that was really big enough you know, to plant a proper garden. And I just started off, you know, growing herbs and then I started planting vegetables and just this world opened up to me as far as, you know, understanding nature and being connected with the ingredients that I use as a chef. You know, and just simple things like, you know, growing peas and realizing that, you know, it starts off as a little seedling and it grows and then, you know, the flowers, the blossoms form. And these blossoms are beautiful and taste like peas. And at that time, no one was using flowers, you know, and I just thought, well, this is a perfect garnish, you know, to go with a dish of simply cooked peas with maybe some truffle custard or something, you know. So that world opened up into me, but I sort of also wanted to explain a little bit about what Australian cuisine is. It's sort of, you know, it's a question that gets asked quite a lot by international journalists. Well, how do you describe Australia? And what is Australian cuisine? I mean, we are really, you know, European Australia is such a new country, and you know, we don't have a set of really strong, traditions. I mean, in the beginning, like America, there was a very much an English sort of settled, and I think probably what my grandmother cooked was very English. But as we moved into the 30s, the 40s, 50s, and 60s, we had a lot of immigration in Australia, and we had people come from all parts of the world. So as a cook, I think you have to cook from what's around you and your experiences. And I grew up in the 70s, one night eating Italian food, the next night eating Chinese. And a lot of people did. And certainly by the 80s, it was very common for people to think about what they're going to eat this week. And instead of it being, an English roast and 4 vegetables, it was probably a Thai curry. And so having this great influence of all different nationalities, cuisines, as a young person growing up, I had this sort of multiple flavour memories to draw from, and I think that I think it's probably one of the key cornerstones of modern Australian food is that we are very open to lots of different techniques, lots of different flavour profiles, and we have great produce. Our country is large. In the north, it's very tropical. In the south, it's a cool climate. So I would say that 95% of the ingredients I use in the restaurant at Key come from Australia. So we're very lucky in that sense. We don't have to import a lot of food. And the small percentage of stuff we do might be something like a really traditional Korean soy sauce that's 10 years old, or we grow our own truffles, we have our own olive oil, so it's very little that we have to import. Now, this dish that I'm going to present for you is a good example of the inspiration that's around us as chefs. So this particular dish has a very Chinese origin, and it really comes from after work, late at night. A lot of chefs go down to Chinatown to have a feed and have a few drinks, and there's not a lot open at 2 o'clock in the morning, but there is a couple of very, very good Chinese restaurants, and one of the favourite dishes that everyone has is XO pipis, and pipis like little clams. So an XO sauce, for those that don't know, I believe its origins were in Hong Kong in the 1970s. It's a sauce that Chinese chefs put together using incredibly, beautiful, rich umami ingredients. So things like shaved Chinese ham, mushrooms, dried scallops, dried prawns, and chili was put into this sauce. And it's a sauce that will take a couple of days to prepare, typically. So I wanted to do something. So instead of just having the sauce with pipis and some fried bread, which is delicious and amazing, I wanted to use that as a reference point to make a dish, a fine dining dish. So what I did is I decided to firstly make the sauce. So I had to work out how I wanted to do that and to intensify it. So I took a lot of those traditional ingredients, but I ended up drying them myself. So I ended up drying my own scallops, I dried my own hamon, dried my own shiitake mushrooms, dried my own chilies, and this process starts off as you would for quite a complex stock. There's roasted chicken bones, there's scallop trimmings, squid trimmings, mushroom trimmings, all sorts of beautiful ingredients. The stock is cooked very slowly for about 8 hours, and then all the dried ingredients get added to that stock. So the basic stock gets strained, all these dried ingredients that intensify the stock get added. So then it has another 4-hour cooking period, and then we actually clarify it like I would a classic French consommé, and I clarify it with a raft with dried shiitake mushrooms and dried seaweed. And the end result is this really, really intense umami XO sauce. Now, I actually use a milder chili in this that's semi-dried, so it doesn't have quite the heat kick. It has more of a persistent, beautiful, round flavour, and the chili is mainly used for the flavour. With all of those other ingredients, it's quite potent and intense. So, and then seafood obviously works very well with XO. So I've got a whole lot of seafood that I use in the dish. Shaved fresh scallops go into the dish. So we don't need all of these, just a few. So there's a mixture of seafood. We use either freshwater yabbies or marron, which are native to Australia. This is some lobster that we had here in California, very thinly sliced again, so some lobster flesh. All of this is raw or just cooked. These are beautiful clams. I believe these are the cherrystone clams, I think, here. We use clams that are called strawberry clams at Key. This is some shaved squid, very thinly shaved. That goes in as well. And last but not least is some octopus tentacles, again, very thinly shaved. Now, all of this seafood is going to be poached in some butter. The butter is at about 65 to 70 degrees, so it's quite a slow cook, really. I'm just going to pop that over there, that's quite warm now. Then I wanted to extend the idea of this dish, and by doing that, when I was making the sauce, I had all these beautiful dried ingredients we dried ourselves, and I thought that would make an excellent garnish. So we actually have some dried, dehydrated hamon, shiitake mushrooms. I'm actually just using the skin off the shiitake mushroom because it has incredible umami flavour, and that's been dehydrated as well. We have some dried scallop, very thinly sliced into very thin, crisp wafers. That goes in. And this is the lobster skin. It's been dehydrated. And a little bit of dehydrated chili. Just a little bit, not too much. Okay, so XO's ready. I'm just going to heat up the garnish and cook the seafood. It's quite quick to put together. There's a lot of preparation, but the end result comes together very quickly. And this is a little bit higher than 70 degrees at the moment. So it's very quick, it's almost instantaneous. Okay, so straight out, other side. Okay, and the all the garnish just really gets warmed through a little tiny bit of clarified butter. So it's just a matter of rehydrating it in a little bit of butter, but it's also about giving it a sheen and giving it some warmth. Okay, so this garnish. This is such a brand new dish on the menu at Key. I didn't even write a method down. I think there's just ingredients here, so you'll have to work that one out for yourself. Unfortunately, it'll be in my new book. But yeah, I've literally this has been on the menu for maybe 4 or 5 weeks. So starting off, we'll take the beautifully quickly poached seafood. That all comes down the base here. That's good, you can see that. So you got all the different textures of all the seafood. And you know, it's just very tender and soft because it's been shaved very thinly. Then the XO, which is just named after. And this goes on. It's such a delicious, intense sauce. So just want to add enough. And then right at the very end, the all the crispy garnish from everything that goes in to make the sauce then goes on top. And that's our dish, guys.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
I wish you could all taste this. The intensity of this dish and the flavors and the textures. It really is a delicious, sort of sensation, and a lot of my food is about texture. It's about combination and marriages of flavors that give a harmonious whole. So I think I'm completely out of time now. So thanks very much, guys, and I've enjoyed being here. Thank you.